Hi, this is One God Ministries, and we are on our video 23 entitled Thought Control, which deals whether we should control our thoughts or are we accountable for our thoughts. In 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5, the Apostle Paul states, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. Unquote. So the Apostle Paul was talking about this process of Christians that they should bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. So what we may wonder, what does thought into captivity mean? It actually means controlling the thought. You can imagine, for example, a dog or a bird or any pet. If you put it into captivity, you literally put it in a cage whereby it cannot wander anywhere else. Okay? So, for example, if you have a pet bird, when you put it into captivity, you put it in a cage so it cannot fly just anywhere. The same with the thoughts. If we put the thought into captivity, we do not let it wander anywhere it wants to go, but rather take it captive in an imaginary cage wherein it cannot go anywhere else. Okay, so this is a drawing uh, of what some people think about taking my thoughts captive. Okay, so they put their head, which gives way to the thoughts, into a type of cage. Okay, so what it literally means is the thoughts, when it enters our minds willfully or unintentionally, should be sorted out whether it should be dwelt upon or simply blocked. You know, thoughts come to our minds sometimes intentionally, but sometimes also unintentionally. You may wonder, where did it come from? Why am I thinking of those things? Probably it was your hormones working inside of you, leading way for thoughts that probably are about sexual immorality or something else, or violence. Okay, so what the Apostle Paul was telling the early Christians is that they should held captive their thoughts. So either willfully or unintentionally, the thoughts should be sorted out whether it should be dwelt upon or simply blocked. If it is sinful, then it should be blocked. So what does thoughts that are obedient to Christ mean? Well, we are to avoid thoughts that are sinful according to the definition of the Bible. So we should have a keen knowledge of what the Bible calls a sin in order for us to identify whether a thought is sinful or not. For example, in 1 Corinthians 6:9, the Apostle Paul describes the sinful nature. I quote, do you not know that the wicked will not inherit the kingdom of God? Meaning, people who indulge in these things and even most likely think of these things will not inherit the kingdom of God. So I continue. I quote, do not be deceived, neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor male prostitutes, nor homosexual offenders, nor thieves, nor the greedy, nor drunkards, nor slanderers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. Unquote. So the principles that the Apostle Paul is endorsing in here is that we should not indulge in sexual immorality, whether in the actual action or even in thoughts. Nor should there be an inclination to idolatry, worshipping of other gods. For example, money. And then there is the issue about prostitution, which is money in exchange, rather sex in exchange for money. Okay? And then there are the homosexual offenders. So this should also be avoided. Any thoughts about this should be blocked. How about theft? Meaning trying to get the goods that belong to other people. Covetousness. The greedy mentioned in here actually mean the covetous or those who want to get the goods of other people and claim them as their own. Slanderers are those who love to tell gossips about other people. Swindlers are those who swindle people of their money and their goods. Okay, so what the Apostle Paul is telling us in here is that we should avoid these deeds and also avoid thinking about these things. So if ever there is an envy going on inside your head, there is a slander you want to do on your neighbor, then stop it. Don't even think about it. And how about sexual immorality? Don't even think about it. This is what the Apostle Paul was telling the early Christians. Otherwise, you will not inherit the kingdom of God. So if you want to inherit the kingdom of God, you want to enter the kingdom of God, you should be obedient to Jesus Christ. So you may wonder, why are thoughts so important? In Genesis 6, verse 5 to 6, let us read, "The Lord saw how great man's wickedness on earth had become, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil all the time. The Lord was grieved that he had made man on the earth, and his heart was filled with pain." Let us think. Why was the Lord concerned of the thoughts of men? Why did it lead to the eventual judgment and the punishment of the human race during Noah's time? You know, out of probably several millions that existed during the time of Noah, only 8 people were allowed to live. All the rest were punished and judged by God because, according to the previous verse we had just read, of the evil inclination of their evil thoughts in their mind, as well as the eventual deeds that spring out of those thoughts. In Jeremiah 17, verse 9 to 10, let us look at what the Lord is saying. I quote, "The heart is deceitful above all things. Who can understand it? I, the Lord, search the heart and test the mind to give every man according to his ways." Judgment by the Lord, as we have seen in the book of Jeremiah, starts with the heart and the mind. Jesus Christ, in Luke 6:44 verse 2 verse 45, stated, "Each tree is recognized by its own fruits. The good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart, and the evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaks." I hope you understand that the fruit Jesus Christ was talking about in here is not our converts or anything. It is actually the good deeds, the good things that flow out of the mouth. That comes from the source of the heart or the thoughts. For the heart is simply the dear things we hold in our thoughts. Okay, so fruits refer to deeds and action that are the product of thoughts. So whatever we think about, whether good or bad, will eventually overflow one way or another into action. In 1 Chronicles 28 verse 9, King David said, I quote, "For the Lord searches all hearts and understands all the intent of the thoughts." Unquote. So the intentions are actually read by the Lord. Proverbs 16 verse 2 states, all a man's ways seem innocent to him, but motives are weighed by the Lord. Notice that motives actually are the thoughts of man. In Ephesians 4 verse 22, the Apostle Paul states, you were taught with regard to your former way of life to put off your old self, which is being corrupted by its deceitful desires, to be made new in the attitude of your minds. In Romans 12 verse 2, the Apostle Paul again states, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, His good, pleasing, and perfect will. So the transformation that happens in an individual, let's say from bad to good, from a drunkard to a sober person, from a thief to an honest person, it starts with the renewal of the mind. It starts with the mind, and from the mind, it will overflow into action. So in summary, we saw that both good and sinful deeds has its origin in the thoughts. That is why God is so concerned about our thoughts. God investigates and judges us not only our deeds, but even our thoughts, according to the Bible. It is then our duty to bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. Okay, so this is our specific verse for today, and I hope you understood this. So we can say that the thoughts, when it enters our minds willfully or unintentionally, should be sorted out immediately, whether it should be dwelt upon or simply blocked. Okay, so thank you for listening to our YouTube channel, One God Ministries, and I hope you watch our other videos so you will be enlightened by the truth that is found in the Bible. Thank you for listening.